Hey everybody, Byron Burton here, and I'm speaking today with the wonderfully talented Oscar-nominated songwriter, Mr. Nicholas Pike. Nick, good morning.
Byron, how are you, man?
I'm very good. I like the alien and the Emmy in the corner there on the screen. It's a perfect combo, really.
Yeah,
When you think about
it's
it.
all about the balance, you know?
Yes, there's something beautiful about the stories of films and how they come together. I'm reminded of the director that did Porky's, and it became a hit, and they wanted a Porky's too, and he said only if you do a Christmas story, and they're like, fine. So and that was something that gentleman wanted to make for so long, and of course, Christmas Story beloved, but no Oscar nominations came from that one, I don't believe. Now, your story
No.
begins in 2016, which is so fabulous with Alan Rich making a chance introduction. Can you kind of take me back to what was going on in 2016, what your mind was on creatively at that point when this sort of amazing opportunity first presented itself?
Yeah, I think it was 2017, but it was splitting hairs. Um, but yeah, I was having lunch with Alan and we were just kind of shooting the shit and he looks over and he looks back, he says, "Hey, there's somebody here you should meet," you know? And I was like, "Oh, who's that?" He said, "This is a producer, Christine Lamont. She has this film. It's about Verdi." I was like, "Wow, that sounds intriguing." Um, and so we went over and chatted, and later that day, she sent me over this 12-minute clip, a little assembly of some of the scenes that the director Yvonne Russo had put together, and they I don't know if they were thinking of hiring me at the time or I mean, this was like really early. They were just basically showing me what they were doing and would I be interested, kind of thing. And man, I looked at this little thing and it was like so amazing. It was like so full of joy, inspiration, passion. With these people, these residents at Casa Verde in Milan. Um, and so like I literally I went over to the piano and I wrote the piece just like that. And so like the purest to me, the purest form of writing. You feel the emotion and you write the music, like an immediate translation. They didn't even know I was doing it. They hadn't hired me. There was nothing. I just like watched it, wrote the piece.
And originally, the lyrics didn't feel like this has to be added right away, right? It was purely symphonic and orchestral when you first put it together.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a piano piece initially, and like, and initially I was calling it Continuum because of the whole vibe at Casa Verde, and these older generation, mentoring these young up and coming artists. It felt like a continuum, like the wheel of opera or classical music, kind of just going around and moving it on to the next generation. But then, like, I don't know. Once I got over the initial excitement of having written the piece, I thought, this is Verdi. Maybe I should have a soprano or something singing it, and maybe I should, write some lyrics. So that's kind of how it happens, sort of one foot in front of the other. And a few days later, I had the lyrics sorted out, and I had a connection down at LA Opera's young artist program, who hooked me up with a young soprano to come and demo it for me. 'Cause she came up to the studio to sing it, and man, it was amazing. It was just like goosebumps listening to her sing it. And now because it's so long ago, 8 or 9 years ago, she's now like this international soprano, like performing everywhere. But at the time, I thought, I needed to get somebody already there in that position. So my engineer Clark Germain said, "Hey, I know Ana Maria Martinez because he had recorded her and Placido Domingo for the Mozart and the Jungle series. Do you remember that series?
Yeah, it was lovely. Amazon did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, really, really good series. So she had done all the soprano singing, and Placido had done the tenor singing for that show. And so he emailed her. She was like, I love this project. I love the piece. How do we move it forward? So yeah, so we zipped up to San Francisco because she was at the San Francisco Opera at the time, and recorded at Fantasy Studios in Berkeley, which I've heard is like no longer functioning. The whoever the company bought the building, and you know, I don't know what's going on up there, but that studio apparently no longer exists, which is really a shame. It's like a classic old studio. So
Now, from what you saw, I mean, the whole documentary, what Yvonne Rousseau did, incredible. Um, that those 10 minutes you initially saw, that was sort of maybe a fundraising piece for her, or she had just wanted to get a few interviews down and really see some of these personalities, because everyone in this thing is so vastly different and so incredibly engaging on camera. It's hard to get that. I
yeah,
also wonder, did they have 20 other people they approached, and oh, this is not gonna work in the film, because it just seems amazing. Every member of the film that's on screen is captivating.
I think there obviously there are a lot of residents there, and there are many stories they could have gone with. And for one reason or another, they didn't work out. Whether it was, sort of too close to maybe somebody else's story, or I think because they went back like three times over the course of, I don't know, 7 or 8 years to shoot. And I think, some people that they shot the first time around, weren't doing so well the second time they went, so they couldn't get more footage of those people. So there's all kinds of stuff like that went on. Um, so they went three times they went, and shot all this footage. And from then it was just like this process of putting it together and like trying to make a story out of it and a film out of it. Um, and so that's when the editors stepped in, and man, it's they did yeah, I mean, I think they had like 100 hours of film or something to troll through. It just sounds like a lot of work to me. Um, but I think so the song kind of worked for them because I think it helps sort of focus the dynamic of what this film should all be about. Um, because they had this footage and I think they were sort of, there's a lot of different directions you could probably go in. But I think, I mean, I think of this song as like a um, celebration of life as an artist. You know what I mean? Because that's what came across to me from these people. They were like such a celebration of what artists do basically, and they were still doing it like into their last 80 into the 80s and 90s, and some of them are over 100 years old. So basically like living a life through music like Verdi did, like they're doing, like I do. um so I think that sort of helped kind of like just focus the whole vibe of the film. At least
No,
that's what they told me.
and I think this nomination is also a celebration of artistry, because there was such an abundance of people hungry to get into that nomination slot of those five songs. I attended at least three events for F1. Millions of dollars are spent on these campaigns. And what was really beautiful about your song is the work speaks for itself, but you also didn't want to leave everything just in the ether and hope that it made an impact. You made sure that you did a couple screenings, out of the Nicholas Pike PR budget, not the Warner Brothers PR budget. And to me, it was just so inspiring to see someone supporting their work in this David versus Goliath world that we live in, where everyone is doing at least 30 screenings of their piece. Now, granted, sometimes they're pushing the cast and other crafts categories at those events, but still,
Right.
it remains to be said that it's a behemoth that you went up against.
For sure, for sure. And I was reminded of that by my PR people constantly. And I just kept saying to them, look, I think the piece stands for itself. I think if the music people hear it, they will respond to it, you know. I mean, here's the thing. It's just me. I take this emotion, I write the piece. I don't have a team of people, writers working on it. And because it comes from like more of a classical kind of vibe, I think it has like a deeper, it's got a deeper well of complexity and finesse, that you don't often find in other types of things that get nominated. And I think like the music branch people, I mean, like I've said before, like these are the people who brought us pretty much all the film music for the last 40, 50 years, maybe. And so they're a pretty sophisticated, musically sophisticated group, and I think they heard it and responded to it. Is what happened.
Yeah, and it was such a delight for me having watched your, career over the years and just getting to know you. It felt like a win for me too. I love seeing it.
Oh,
What
great.
was it like at the Oscar luncheon? That must have been a really special occasion.
It was interesting. It was interesting. Um, yeah, what was it like? Well, it was a lot of running around beforehand, talking to the press. So by the time I'd walked through the red carpet, man, I was hungry and thirsty. Um, it was cool. It was cool to meet other the other nominees and some of them, and see some old friends you know who were there, of course, and yeah, it was pretty nice, I think.
Yes, well, I'm excited for your attendance at the ceremony. I'm also excited that you're taking over the radio waves. There's some pretty cool things that have come about from this nomination. Can you just kind of walk through things that have popped up as opportunities since then?
Yeah, well, the classical stations, I've kind of, every now and again I'd send them something, hey, I've just finished this for this film, and they'd play it and, they'd feature it and stuff like that. So I kind of got to know them a little bit, and so they were following the journey along, sort of right with me kind of thing, and so, the short list, well, no, first saying, we're going to run a campaign, then the short list, and then the nomination, and we're like, oh my goodness, we got to do something special. Um, so, uh, so yes, I did this sort of hour long thing, with of basically, featuring the song, but also talking about influential pieces of music, through my, whole musical experience, kind of thing. So that's really cool. I think it's airing next week, like Wednesday next week, maybe for the 26th. Um, so that was one thing, and then I don't know, just a lot of coverage for sure, and which is great, because like you said, I didn't want the film and the song just to disappear out into the middle of nowhere, and I thought it was important that the film was seen because it's like it's like a blueprint for what every retirement home in the world could be. Do you know what I mean? And it's like it's a celebration of that elder generation who have like a massive amount of experience. Um, because I think as humans we have this thing where we kind of like keep going around in the same circle, and then every now and again we make a little bit of progress. But like if we took a lot more, guidance or influence from people who had been doing it for 60 or 70 years, maybe we wouldn't be screwing up nearly as much. I don't know.
Well, I hope you and Christine have another one cooking because this collaboration has certainly come out quite well.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll see. We'll see what, they've got an idea to do a series based on this retirement place. And personally, I've got a couple of opera things that I'm trying to get off the ground, so I'm looking for commissions to get those going, and you know, yeah. So So I think some good stuff coming along.
Well, I'm so excited for you. I'm excited to see you on live TV. And congratulations. This is absolutely incredible. It is the story of true inspiration, triumph, having a triumph over nonstop spinning promotion and all the glitz and glamour. It was about talent going right down the center and getting to the voters and letting them experience that and seeing how different it was from every other nominee.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
Well, thanks, Byron, man. I appreciate your support, and yeah, we've had some good times along the way for sure.
And more to come. And I'll see you
Yeah.
probably in person, hopefully at the SCL if I can make it back.
All right, man. All
That's
right.
enjoy your baton.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.